I'm Roger Vanek with Rogers Outdoors, and part of our driving tour, to see Washington State. Again, I've driven, between 1.5 million and 2 million miles, most of which is my outdoor interests have taken me to various parts of the state, and I've done a lot of back roads and I've done, because I drive so much, I decided I'd do some research. So I look up a lot of the scenic drives and see what other people think are, things that you can't miss, etc. And take note of those and kind of, I've made my own highlights of what I would like to share with you. Give you a drive to take, today we're going to be talking about the north central part of the state, go up to the Canadian border, come back through the North Cascades highway, and just kind of talk about what there is to see along the way and why you should take that kind of trip. So each one of my videos has things attached to, companion articles attached to it that you can download for free. So you've got notes, you've got a map on the route that I'm talking about driving, and you've got the scenic highlights that I pick out for you to see. And then you've got some articles that kind of discuss some of the areas that you might want to take a look at in a little more detail. So today we're going to start out kind of going across Stevens Pass, taking Highway 2, through Monroe and Sultan. When I get to Sultan, that's kind of the first thing I think of. That's where I used to pick my chanterelle mushrooms. There's actually a good supply of chestnuts, wild chestnuts out there, as well as meadow mushrooms. My area for doing that. I'll drive up across Stevens Pass, watch the skiers at various times a year. Good scenic mountainous terrain. You're going along the Skykomish River, beautiful little river to lots of pools that you're able to see from the highway, rapids, and just very scenic. As you start get across the pass, you run into, just as soon as you get across, you hit the Wenatchee River, and that always reminds me of taking a float trip, a river rafting the Wenatchee. You do that during the summer. It's kind of wild and crazy, but it's a doable. I mean, it's not a class 5, it's more of a class 3 type river, but it's just fun. There's enough water and spray that comes through that you're going to get a little wet, so I kind of advise July, August, when the water's warm, to do those trips. As you kind of go through the scenic little town of Leavenworth, it's a Bavarian town, neat decorations, worth taking a look at. You drive along, you're a tremendous orchard area, lots of apples and some grapes, but more cherries than that particular area is apples and cherries. Good areas to pick morel mushrooms up in through Leavenworth area. You'll go through Mission Ridge ski area just as you're coming into Wenatchee. One real stop that I often make is Omi Gardens on just the north side of the highway there. It's really a cool, especially in the spring. They've got it just decked out with all kinds of unique flowers that grow out in that area. And when I get to, just as I get to Wenatchee, we've got a little favorite spot that we stop at for hamburgers and malted milks or shakes. But then we kind of turn north and we head towards Chelan. Again, driving along the river and just seeing miles and miles of orchards. If you look at the hillsides along the drive, you'll see bighorn sheep are up there, a lot of chukar, etc. It's a good amount of wildlife that frequents the area. When you get to Chelan, I highly recommend that you take one of the two ferry trips, either the standard ferry or the hydrofoil that you can take from kind of downtown Chelan all the way to the north end of the lake to a little town called Stehekin. And they narrate the trips. They will show you some mountain goats along the way, some of the fishery. Lake Chelan's the biggest natural lake in the whole state, and so it's a couple-hour trip basically up there. And then once you get to Stehekin, make sure you stop at the bakery. They have just great cross buns, and I'm trying to remember some of the other goodies, but they also offer a little hiking trip up to Rainbow Falls, just outside of Stehekin. So that's worthwhile taking. So anyway, getting back to Chelan, head north a little bit more, and you'll come to an area where you'll see a road, a highway saying Winthrop and Twisp, cutting off to your left, and where the Methow River intersects. The Methow is, and this is probably either the first or the second highest producing steelhead river or run in the state, and you'll see, especially in the springtime, you'll see good supply of boats fishing there, and then a little bit later in the summer they fish for sockeye salmon in the river just a little bit further north of this intersection. So from here I kind of head north, continue to head north towards the Canadian border, up to Tonasket is one of my normal stops, because I usually take a little detour for a couple miles off to the right and go to a place called Lake Bonaparte. Fairly small little lake. They offer ice fishing during the winter, and they have kind of primitive campgrounds. In fact, I think that we had the choice of, for $2 extra, you can have sheets on the bed. Another $2, you can have a bathroom in your room. That kind of thing. It gives you an idea of the kind of facilities that they have there. I usually drive all the way up to the border, and over the years, this is one of my favorite drives, because as you get into Canada, you come to Penticton, just a tremendous little city to visit. They've got all kinds of, it's on a huge lake, and they've got they really cater to tourists, and they've got every kind of water activity from paddle boards to canoes and kayaks, and just get you out. And they've also got little like go-kart racing, and if you're a tourist up there, they've got plenty for you to do. And we will often continue on from there to Kelowna, one of our famous little favorite little French dining places up in Kelowna. But today we kind of can't go that direction, so in order to make our trip interesting, we kind of back up a little bit. We come back to this area by Pateros, where the Methow River intersects 97, I think it is, that we're heading north on, and take that cutoff towards Winthrop and Twisp, and then Winthrop. That area has nice forest, but the drive is pretty just because of the Methow River. It is just the prettiest little river that you can imagine. I love to go up there trout fishing, fly fishing on the river, and just to see all the the deer and the turkey and all that sort of thing up there. When you get to Winthrop, you're going to have a kind of a western town. They've made over a lot of the buildings to look like the Old West. Lots of art galleries and just touristy things. It's worthwhile stopping, spend an hour or two there and see some of the galleries, and maybe even have your meal there. Continue on that route. I think it's Highway 20. You go to Mazama, and then you're basically continue west across the North Cascades Highway. Again, it's a scenic, it's in every tourist book you want to see as far as top-notch scenery, one of the Washington scenic drives. After you go over the top of the crest, and it's not open all year long. There's so much snow during the wintertime, they'll close the pass. So, this is a summertime trip more often. If you have made some reservations in advance, they usually require reservations. When you get Seattle City Light offers tours of their dam system at Ross Dam, and they serve you a little picnic lunch, fried chicken and potato salad, or that kind of lunch anyway. I'm assuming that they're probably going to do it, even that COVID is kind of breaking loose, and that they'll do it again this year. Continue on from there. Those lakes are gorgeous, by the way. I mean, that's one of that area is why they call it a scenic drive. Go a little bit further, and you'll see signs that to Mount Baker and Baker Lake. I like to take that detour a lot. To go see Seattle City Lights, how they put the dam in at the south end of Baker Lake. Doesn't have a fish ladder to it, but they capture the sockeye salmon at the base of the dam, truck them over the top of the dam, and let them spawn naturally. They actually have an excellent fishery in Baker Lake. And what makes it really great is you're kind of looking up at Mount Baker and one of the few glaciers in the state. That water is cold, by the way, just because it's some of that runoff that comes down from Baker Lake. And in the area, I mean, there's a few campgrounds away, and you also see where there's hot springs about halfway up the lake on the west side of the lake. Worth hiking into. They've got great trails up there at Baker Lake also, too, hiking trails. Especially at the very north end of Baker Lake. Usually the time you want to see the sockeye fishing is about middle of July. If you go, you'll see a lot of boats in the north end of the lake, middle of July, fishing for the sockeye. Come back to Highway 20, continue west. You're going along the Skagit River, again, one of the real major salmon rivers in the state. You'll see eagles everywhere, especially during the late fall when after the salmon is spawned and start drifting down. They have you can book a tour boats to take you up the river and see just literally hundreds of salmon eagles as they feast on the salmon. Then just kind of continue on to Highway 20 comes out roughly at where the tulips are at Mount Vernon. If you catch it right during the spring, you can go to the Tulip Festival too. But from there, there's a whole different set of things you'll see on one of my other driving tours up through North Central or Northwest Washington Drive that talk about the different routes home that you can take. But for today, just get on I-5, buy yourself an ice cream cone on the way home, and make sure you take a couple of days to do this trip. Do plenty of stops. Take a camera. Take some notes for your journaling. It's a trip that you will really enjoy. And again, don't forget to look at the companion articles that detail a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about in this video.